the watered down version of the Democrats and make us think everything is great and all of that. But the new black media has been keeping it real and bringing it to you live and unadulterated in all
color.
of that.
In color.
Yes. So big ups to the new black media. And we're going to talk about some things that the new black media has been great in bringing forth, because we, and I say we, Donovan and I, and a whole bunch of people who are considered new black media, have been hearing from a lot of people that thank you guys. Thanks to you guys, I know this. I didn't know that. I'm reading these books now. I'm doing this research, and I'm more conscious about who I give my vote to. And so we just kind of want to talk about some things that has really helped people understand. But one of the things we're going to talk about before I give it to Donovan is that of the Ahmaud Arbery case. You guys know recently Ahmaud's killers, was it Travis and Greg McMichael and what's his name, William Bryan? They hunted down Ahmaud Arbery as he was jogging in February of 2020, hit him with the truck and he shot him and all that. And so they pretty much got away with it until it got into the mainstream media, and then new black media picked up the story. And then most recently, the feds, the DOJ under the Biden administration picked it up, and they were going to allow them to make a plea deal, which would allow them to serve time in federal prison, which is kind of like a cushy thing or whatever. And Sean King made a good point in saying, wait a minute, why should they go to Club Fed? Now they need to go to Georgia and spend hard time and do hard labor like anybody else would, like any black man or woman in America would have to do if they did anything less than murder. They would have to go do hard time. And so again, the DOJ pretty much said that Ahmaud Arbery's family, specifically Wanda Cooper Jones, his mother, was okay with it. She said that's not true.
Total lie.
It's very disrespectful. So we're going to talk about that and a couple other things. But Donovan, what say you before we get started?
Well, I want to say, guys, welcome and thank you guys for joining the Demetra K podcast. Not only is she on video and then she's a contributor to the African Diaspora News channel, she also has her podcast and her regular show on Sundays, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do me a favor, please like, share, and subscribe when you can. And if you guys are looking at this on a live video chat, she usually has her banner at the bottom, and there it goes. And she help us donate. You can Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. Every little bit counts, because let's face it, you guys hear me say this all the time. Time is money. Time is money. When you go to a job, they are paying you not only to do the job, but the time that you're there. They're paying you for the time that you're there. That's why you work. A lot of you guys work by the hour. You're getting paid for the hour. So it's the same thing with new black media and just media in general. So whatever you guys can, we really appreciate it. And for those that have already, we thank you so much. Nothing wrong with the super chat. We love that, but YouTube gets 30% of that. So if you guys, Cash App or whatever, we get 100% of that. So I'm not telling you how to contribute. Anything will do, but just let a lot of you guys don't know the difference. But yeah, Demetra, we woke up today and, we were talking about that, and Phil, I think Uncle Phil was talking about it as well. But they kind of broke down that Arbery case, and they said what killed me about it is when you really look at Joe Biden's administration, this man is outright disrespectful to black people at every level. I don't see how anybody can say that this man is less racist than Trump. Trump wasn't doing all of this stuff when it came to black folks. He wasn't. What about the Hispanics on the border? Biden is still doing the Trump policy at the border, if not more. So, I mean, one thing about new black media, like you said, a lot of people were saying, thank you guys for this and breaking stuff down, whatever. It is waking a lot of people up and stuff. You got your Roll Martins and people who are paid bootlicks are going to say a certain thing. But in regards to the Arbery case, you have a black woman who was the very first black woman who has been put in charge of the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department. Now, this is Biden's Justice Department. We can't say it's somebody else's. It's his Justice Department. This lady, if you followed the case, I watch a lot of court TV. If you followed the case, sat up there and lied on Arbery, his family and his mom and all that stuff, and tried to do this plea deal. She had said from the very beginning, at the end of the local case, no, this is what I want, this is what I did, and they tried to slip this in at the last minute. And then even when the judge rejected the plea deal that the family did not authorize, she argued, well, just do it anyway. So again, we have a lot of issues when it comes to sisters. I'm sorry, y'all keep talking about how y'all this and y'all that. All I'm seeing is a bunch of bootlicks and bootstraps selling us down the road. So we're going to get into a little bit about this lady's background and things like that. But Demetra, I mean, that was a travesty. And big up to Ahmaud Arbery's mom for not giving up on the legacy, not accepting a payday, not doing that. She's trying to get justice for her son, and she's standing down on it 10 toes.
Absolutely. And when you said that, basically Biden is, just like Trump, it reminded me of this here. I saw this
Right.
for those of you guys who are on the podcast, it is a picture of Biden who appears to be taking off a mask of Trump.
Right.
And so basically saying underneath Trump, there's a Biden. And so I just thought that was funny because when you said that, because it's true. I mean, Biden, it was, guys, infamously, he said, you Negroes, he said, black people, stood by me and I'm going to stand by y'all. Well, he has done everything but. I mean, and they told us, everybody, who should vote for them, oh, we need to get Trump out of there. He's a horrible person. He's this, he's that, he's this. He's the boogeyman. But yet you turn around and you are just as adverse to black people as you claim Trump was. And so, to your point, with the DOJ, wanting to get, I don't want to call it a slap on the wrist because essentially they're going to all do life. I think Brian, he could get out in 30 years, but he's an older cat. So he'll probably, he's a neighbor, I guess. I don't know if he'll, live that long, but, it's like you're willing to let them go serve in a place that's, nicer, if you will. It's like his Wanda Cooper Jones said, my son didn't get that choice. He didn't get the choice of, what he wanted to do, but you're letting these murderers who blatantly admitted that they were white supremacists and they killed him because he was black. They also found racist rhetoric and stuff in their text messages using the N-word and basically talking about they wanted to harm a black person, and they played it out. And so here's the Biden administration. The DOJ, who was essentially under the FBI, but it's still under the Biden administration. They heard all of that evidence. And
other way around. Sorry about that. Other way around. The DOJ is above the FBI.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay, so however it goes, they all heard this information, and yet they're asking these dudes, here's a nicer deal. Would you want to take?
Yeah, all you got to do is say you're a racist, and you can get this deal.
Well, why do they get a choice? It's like all the evidence is laid out there that they blatantly did this to this kid,
murdered,
got away with it. Because, they're friends with the police and the DA, who's also under fire. I guess she's going to be going on trial as well.
Yeah, in about a week or two.
Yeah, but they got away with it until it got to the mainstream. And then black media picked it up and kept talking about it and saying, hey, he needs justice. For what? Because I'll be honest with you, when I saw the video, I cried.
Yeah,
I broke down and cried because I was like, this is 2020 at the time, and you mean to tell me you can't be jogging down the street without somebody doing that to you and then try to say we were afraid of our lives? How?
Well, when I saw the video, you would think a person's humanity. This young man was doing nothing wrong, nothing other than jogging in a neighborhood. And for that white woman, DA, Jackie Lacey, I think that's her name, to just not charge anybody in the case.
No, Jackie Lacey is actually from
LA.
LA.
It's LA. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of LA. But the white lady in the case here, not to charge anybody in the case. How do you let somebody get murdered, Breonna Taylor, and nobody gets charged? Where does that happen at? If that was a white person, let's just switch it up. If this was a white person, Or an Asian now. If you kill an Asian, that's a federal offense. Or you do something to an Asian, that's federal now. How do you not charge? And then we have that young black girl up in Connecticut that was murdered. Why is it that when it comes to black people, there's always an exceptionalism or an exception to the rule or to the law?
So her name is Jackie Johnson.
That's
so,
what
so Jackie Lacey is the black lady who was the district attorney.
Bounced out.
Horrible. So anyway, she was very pro-police and all of that, and just Jackie.
They
Johnson.
all are. They are. Yeah. They're blue before they're black.
Yeah, and just Jackie Johnson. She pretty much told them, don't worry about it, fellas. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And obviously, she's in trouble.
Just monsters.
Yeah, monsters. He blatantly murdered this black kid. He's a kid to us. Mm-hmm. Murdered him in cold blood and then tried to pass it off as we were afraid or he was burglarized. And it's like, stop it. Right. That was in the deep South where racism is as American as apple pie. Yeah. And they would have gotten away with it. In fact, we didn't hear about this until months later. Now,
2 months later.
Sean King said that people had been sending the messages and trying to get the word to him what happened. And finally he looked at it and he was like, oh, hell no.
Right.
Hell no. And so him and Lee Merritt, they jumped on it and now the rest is history. But they would have gotten away with that. Mm-hmm. They would have gotten away with it. But that's one of the things that New Black Media has really been on and bringing awareness to that, waking people up that, hey, this is not okay, and you do need to be careful. I don't know what the demographic makeup in Brunswick. What is it?
Volstock, Georgia. It's about 45 minutes north of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. So wherever that is, I don't know what the demographic makeup is as far as black people and all of that, but we need to be careful on who we vote for. This DA, she's as racist as they are,
Yeah.
But.
White woman. I keep telling you, y'all think white men are bad. Those women are vicious. And I say that because the women teach the children.
And they down for their man for whatever. Oh, y'all killed a black guy? Oh, don't worry about it.
I got your dumplings on the stove, honey. Don't worry about it.
Go home to Marge.
Or just like that kid up in Wisconsin or Michigan, whatever, and the mother texts him, we're not mad at you. You just got to do better not getting caught. This is what they teach their children in general.
So, and we're going to continue talking about these stories because there's a lot of our people who are just some people are willingly ignorant, if you will, like they want to be, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's some people who really just don't know what they don't know. And so New Black Media has been instrumental in saying, hey, this is what Roland Martin tells you.
Which is totally opposite.
This is what you really need to know because he's giving you the watered down version.
Right. Let the justice system get it. We gotta let the justice system run. Y'all just be cool and get out the streets. We gonna handle it because we got Kamala up there. Can you wobble, Kamala? Can you wobble?
Right. And he, I haven't watched his show in a long time.
I don't watch that bull Twinkie.
But when he does, it's the, rah for the Democrats and you are bots and you black ass media and you
kiss
hate
my ass.
Yeah, so he's got all of that going on. It was like, damn, brother. And I say that loosely. We just trying to wake people up and give them the truth, but you want them to have the white supremacists, because the Democrats are white supremacists too. You want black people to have those talking points so they'll continue to vote for oppression, because let's be honest, people like Roland Martin is getting his butter biscuits and he is getting his checks, and so he really does not care about the rest of us. He's what Dr. Claude Anderson calls the exceptional Negroes, but they're getting their piece of the pie.
They don't care.
So I'm a kind of advocate for black people.
But not really.
I ain't going to give you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth that they want me to say.
And real quick, my mom listens to, that Roland's core demographic are baby boomers. That's his core demographic because he's talking the same shit that they believe in, And
the backbone of the Democratic Party.
And black women, whatever. But remember when he lost his job on TV One and he came down to us little old YouTubers, because Demetria, we've been doing this for a fairly long time. I mean, we started out not like like before the internet. I mean, maybe I did, but you didn't because you're too young. But remember he came down and was like, just talking bad about new black media, and it's like, dog, you're here with us too. You're on YouTube. All this, I was on TV One. I had publishing. I did all this. What Roland Martin doesn't tell you about his resume when he throws his resume out. Ask him about all those newspapers that he was the editor or the publisher in. What happened to them? They all went bankrupt or into the ground. Every last one of them.
Yeah, meaning he is complicit as well as delivering us the Biden administration. He went all out, all hard in the paint for lying to black people about, what it is Biden and Harris, what they've done and what they intend to do with black people, which is nothing, right? He tried to ambush Ice Cube, and Ice Cube was, trying to advocate on behalf of black people, and he's bringing on, I think it was Patrice Cullors from the Black Lives Matter, like, where are they, by the way? But it brings her on to ambush Ice Cube, and he was like, listen, I'm just telling y'all about my contract, Black America. I'm not really here for all this back and forth. When she says, well, I don't really see nothing in there for black women, he was like, shit, you black, ain't you?
Thank you. Simple answer.
Why do I need to, like, this is divisive here, And so people like Roland Martin participate in that kind of stuff.
What about Cocktail for Queens? Once again, another show that is a show that is a distraction. I'm not going to say what I really feel what the show is, but again, they followed the transcript. Another show, The Real. Kamal Bell was on The Real the other day. That's the guy. Let's talk about Cosby. You see what I'm saying? They're using black women. See, ladies, my sisters. I know I say a lot of controversial things on here, but I want you guys to think about this. Do you think Demetria K would have a person like me on this show contributing and sitting with her if I was out there cooning like some of these other people that you guys big up? Think about that. I'm not doing documentaries on Bill Cosby and all this other stuff. I'm not doing that. But you guys big up people like Kamal Bell and all these people that are doing negativity toward our community. And yet here the new black media is giving you the information so that you could make an educated decision that will move the race forward. But y'all don't want to hear all that.
Yeah, I mean, and so, but those are, like you said, those are the ones that get the big bucks to mislead black people, right? Mm-hmm. And I talk about this all the time. We fall for the appeal to authority. We think because Roland Martin does have the resume, he sat on a lot of TV shows, CNN, TV One, and all of that other stuff. He's, we feel like, since he's got that on his resume, he is the authority and he's right. We should be listening to everything he's saying. But as you always like to quote Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. Like, that sounds good. But let me go do my research and see if Kamala Harris is really a good choice for black people.
Let's go see if this judge that's going to the Supreme Court, what is her background? What is her activism on the bench? How does she rule?
Yeah, let's see if Joe Biden is actually good for black people, which we know he's not. Instead of listening to somebody like your Roland Martins and, as you said, the Queen Cocktails and all those other people talk about, they just hating, then deduced us down the box. It's like, no, we are tired as black people. We are tired of getting nothing. We're tired. We're tired of going to the polls and voting for people because they look like us or they talk like us, but they're not really for us. We're tired of that.
Yeah, you guys want to hear something? And the Democratic Party isn't really talking about this. Now, you guys know I'm a political junkie, and I in my sleep I read this shit. You guys ready for this? Hold on to your seats. Demetria, are you ready for this?
I am.
Ralph Warnock is behind the polls against Herschel Walker. What does that tell you? Now, why isn't the Democratic Party talking about that and causing alarm to that? How could anybody be behind the polls against Herschel Walker, a man that it seems to me, and these are my words, it seems to me, my opinion, that is suffering from CRT? How can anybody be behind the polls in that? What is that telling you? But you don't hear the Democrats talking about that. They don't even bring it up. Stacey Abrams, she is behind 3 of the people running for governor. How come you don't hear about that?
Right. I mean, I was just actually looking to see what's really going on with that, because it's
I mean, don't get me wrong. Polls are just a snapshot at the moment.
Well,
but how could you be behind the polls against Herschel Walker? Come on. Right. The guy doesn't do any interviews. He doesn't do anything other than he supports Donald Trump.
Right, and he seems like he's very anti-everything, black.
Exactly.
But I will say this, if he is indeed ahead in the polls, I'm not surprised by that, because for one, look what black people did in Virginia, just didn't show up, right? This is like, I'm good. We are tired of being lied to. And we're just not going to show up. And so the same thing. I mean, listen, if anybody was lied to, it was that of Georgians. They were lied to, right? Everybody and their mama went over to Georgia. It was Barack, it was Kamala, it was Biden, it was all these people.
Stacey Abrams, all of them. Mm-hmm.
Everybody went and lied and got those Negroes to line up in record.
We'll give you $2,000. Look, once we get in office, we got qualified immunity. Once we give us the Senate, we got it. Y'all don't have to worry about a damn thing.
Yeah, got him to line up in record numbers, and then he just
during
the ball.
a pandemic, black people putting themselves on the line, their lives in danger.
During the pandemic, with all, and it would just flat out lies. And so I'm not surprised that somebody like Herschel Walker's in the poll, ahead in the polls, because black people are probably like, hey, you know what? We're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. If Herschel Walker get in there, it's really going to be the same of what we're getting, right? And it's going to be problematic too, because if Herschel Walker is ahead in the polls, you have your Tamara Shealy Johnsons and the other guy that was interviewed on the African Diaspora News Channel. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
And everybody else, they're going to be what? Vote splitters. Right. And so that's not going to help Ralph Warnock. That's not going to help him at all. And so it would
Ralph Warnock barely got in there to begin with, right. And that was a special election. He barely got in against the Republican.
Exactly. But what happens is those Negroes get in there because they've seen all the other black people in Washington get in there and stay in there. They don't do nothing. So he probably was like, shit, I'm in like Flynn.
Yeah, I ain't got to do Martin Luther King's church, so I got that going for me, So, I mean, to me, it's very scary that a lot of people, again, because of the new black media, you guys wouldn't hear stuff like this. You wouldn't hear, how this person isn't being Tim Black. He's another new black media person out there. He actually interviewed Tamara Johnson-Shealy. And if you guys get a chance, go check out that YouTube with Tamara Johnson-Shealy. That woman was so on fire. I wanted to pick up my bags and go to Georgia just to work on her campaign. That's how good she was. And we actually interviewed her here as well. And hopefully maybe we should interview her again. I'm going to have to give her a call. But this is the type of stuff that we cover. New black media. We're the only ones that seem to even care when black girls go missing. What about that?
Yeah, now we're going to segue to that. And I was just looking here, and it says true indeed that Herschel Walker is very close. They're close, right?
Yeah.
And let's just
that's incredible.
Let's just breathe that in for a minute and just breathe it. Let's inculcate it, and then let's dissect it. All right. Just think about this. You got Herschel Walker, who by all accounts is a coon. Okay, he's a raccoon.
And suffering, it seems to me, from
all of that. He's clearly a puppet for the Republicans, okay? Right? And so Georgia's pretty black, right? Georgia's a pretty black state. Probably one of the blackest states in the nation.
Yep.
Okay.
Because everybody's going to Atlanta, the promised land.
He's clearly a Trump supporter, okay? Now, Warnock got in there because it was an indictment, if you will. It was a referendum on Trump.
Exactly.
But now somebody like Herschel Walker is close, and not some polls are saying that he's leading.
He shouldn't be nowhere near the top, but
But are they going to give that credit to black media and black people for saying, hey, you know what, y'all make it do what it do. Y'all fight over that. If Herschel Walker get in, so what? There's no consequence to us.
Right. But Demetra, doesn't this go back to what I've been saying? The Democrats and Joe Biden have passed everything they wanted to pass within the first 45 days. They don't care if they lose the House or the Senate at this point, because that's going to be their excuse. Hey, we would do it, but they're obstructing. We lost the House. Y'all didn't come out. That's y'all fault. We were going to do some stuff. That's what it looks like to me, because knowing the polls as a political person, when you see the polls that they're in danger, even Stacey Abrams isn't in the running right now. Well, she's there, but she's not there. Yeah.
People are sick of them.
You know what I mean? But as a political person, I would panic and say, okay, this is what we've got to do. All the Democrats got to do is start writing legislation for black people, and we would be right back supporting them. That's all they got to do. But guess what? They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
I mean, it could really be a playbook. Like, you know what? Let's give up some of these seats, and so we can really have an excuse not to do anything for black people. They're obstructing us. We would, but you know. So I mean, it could be. But I tend to think it's more that they got complacent with black people. Complacent.
Well, you remember they were talking all that big shit when he said, "Sit y'all asses down. Listen to me. I've done more for civil rights than anybody you know."
Yeah, well, you got complacent with black people. They all have, and now it's coming back on them. Like, black people are just like, whatever. Y'all have that. Y'all let the people who y'all really do things for,
exactly.
let them vote for that.
You. Mm-hmm.
Let them do that. We like that doesn't make, because we know it's not a secret that the Democrats need black people, and that's why when I made the video the other day, y'all go check that out. It's on the channel about them selling, and we talked about this on Sunday as well. Them selling us the myth that the black woman is the backbone of the Democratic Party.
If that's the truth,
she's helpful, but the Democrats didn't get there without the black man, because the black man disproportionately or overwhelmingly voted for the Democrats too.
Yeah.
And so, you know, y'all have a dog in the fight, just like black women having a dog in the fight. The Democrats continue to lie to us, and so black people are just coming to a point where they're like, hey, you know what? Y'all have it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you know, and when we talk about the new black media, have you guys noticed that these private companies like Facebook and YouTube and stuff, they do everything they can to disrupt our broadcasts and our shows because they don't want the message getting out. Now, remember earlier, a couple of years ago, I had said, and we had said on the show, in regards to what we're doing, this is the first time black people, we're not speaking regionally. We're not speaking, okay, California does this, Texas does that, Atlanta does this. We are now reaching global, and we're talking as a group nationwide. And how I know that is working, and you know, and I've said this several times, I'm gonna keep saying this several times because I don't want to give up. When my own mother finally sees the writing on the wall and changes party. Now, you remember, my mother is 71 years old. This woman has been a Democrat for 71 years. 71 years. She marched and did all the civil rights things and, you know, whatever she was doing, you know, as a young woman and stuff, and fighting her fight, right? This woman changed parties because she sees the bullshit that's going down. And it's refreshing, but guess what? She would have never done that if she hadn't been watching new black media. Because my mother don't just watch me. She watches other things. My mother doesn't like my delivery. She don't like my delivery.
Right. And so we're going to transition a little bit on to some of the other things that new black media has really brought awareness to. And one of the cases is that of Lawrence Smithfield. You guys know, we've been talking about a lot from various angles. Lawrence Smithfield was a black woman. I think she was like 25 or so.
Yeah. From
Connecticut. She was found dead. I want to say murder, but I'm going to say dead for now, you know, for legal reasons. Found dead in her apartment after going on a Bumble date with a white man. Now, a Bumble date is one of those dating apps. You meet people and you meet up and this, that, and the other. But they said that she was found in a pool of blood on her bed. They, being the authorities, and the guy tried to say she was bleeding from her nose, but the blood was in the middle of the bed. And what nosebleed is causing all that kind of blood, right? So ultimately, I guess the autopsy said that she was on drugs like methamphetamines and stuff like that. So,
well, they said she had they found some fentanyl. Now, again,
right,
have you heard fentanyl? Prince is gone because they found fentanyl.
Yeah.
That's a very, very powerful drug, and I do not know.
Yeah, that's what they say, right?
Allegedly,
now, the white man, he called the police, basically said she was unresponsive when in essence she was deceased. And once the police got there, they didn't see any need to really do anything to him. In fact, they told her brother that he was a nice guy. But it also turns out that this guy, the white man, potentially has police ties. And so that could be why he was not arrested, because anybody else would be considered at least a person of interest, but not him. And so to this point, detectives that were instrumental in the case have been suspended, and the mayor said this. It said, so it says disciplinary actions may also be taken against Bridgeport Police Detectives Kevin Cronin and Angel Llanos due to a lack of sensitivity to the public and failure to follow police policy in the handling of two cases, according to a statement from city mayor. So it sounds like it was another case. And with her case, they kind of were just like, it seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. From what I read, they didn't notify the family for 2 days. Is that correct?
That's from what I understand as well. And so,
insensitive. You can't identify the family for 2 days. That's insensitive.
Right. And so, mind you, let's see. Okay. So, and I'm just kind of looking at some more stuff here. Now, mind you, she was killed, or I say found dead. Okay, found dead on December 12th, and here we are in February, and now it's like coming to light. But had that been any old white girl from Podunk, wherever, it would have been all over the world, internationally, that this happened to her. Now, imagine if that was a black man and a white woman was in that situation. He wouldn't have been ever. He might not even made it out of there alive. But here's this white man found with this black woman. And she's found in such a horrible condition. And they're like, well, he's a nice guy. But new black media and other people, too. I've seen white people talk about it. And recently I saw it on CNN and Fox News. So I don't know. And Nancy Grace was talking about it. But due to the black, and I know some people have kind of spoke disparagingly about her in the Zaddy situation.
That's irrelevant to a death. But
But, awareness does need to be brought about what happened to her, you know?
Exactly.
Because ultimately, in my opinion, my opinion on whole ain't worth the hill of beans. I'm just saying that she was murdered.
Yeah. And the funny thing that you bring that up, well, here's the thing about new black media. Once the internet and the new black media started talking about it, that's when you saw the local people and the local news and the mainstream news start picking up on it as everybody was talking about it. How many of you guys remember this young lady that was put in a freezer named Kanika Jenkins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The mainstream media, nobody was talking about it until regular internet folks and the internet sleuths, as they call them, started talking about it. And then it was like, we better do something. And then next thing you know, the mother and the family is on Dr. Oz, and Nancy Grace came in and weighed in on it, whatever. So a lot of what would never be covered is now being covered because of new black media in all the different regions. The young man in Baton Rouge that was murdered by the police down there in Louisiana, that came out with the video and everything, and because the new black media kept reporting on it, and then all of a sudden the mass media picks up on it.
Right. And then the other case of Peter Spencer, a Jamaican immigrant who was it was in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is where this case. Peter Spencer, a Jamaican man, 29 years old, went hunting with 4 white people. One of them was his co-worker. His fiance dropped him off. It was Rockland something, Park or something like that. Mm-hmm. She dropped him off, and she said before she dropped him off, like, hey, you sure you want to do this? It's like you and a bunch of white people are going off into this park or wherever, going hunting. Are you sure? He was like, yeah, it's cool. And shortly after, she learned, and his family learned, that he was shot 9 times.
Yeah.
9 times on the hunting trip, and the white people who are nameless because the DA doesn't feel like they should,
that was a black person posted all over the
no, he doesn't want to disclose their names because, he wants to make sure full investigation goes forward.
Yeah, but if it was a black person immediately on arrest.
Yeah, before, he releases their information. But the fact remains is that he went into the woods or wherever he went hunting with 4 white people. He came out dead, and they said that they feared for their lives and it was self-defense. But yeah, that's what they said. That's what they said. It was self-defense, and needless to say, they are not in jail or any of that kind of stuff. And so the family hired a private investigator and a medical examiner. Now, the medical examiner, his name is, I'm going to get it wrong, Dr. No, not Dr. Quincy. Carl Wetch or something like that.
Carl Wetch, yeah. He's a long time. He did the John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King. He goes way back, yeah.
So they hired him, okay? Now, all the credentials that you just listed, do you know what he said?
What did he say?
He was hunted down. He was hunted down.
Cyril Weck. His name is Cyril Weck.
Cyril Weck. There you go. That's his name. Yeah, Cyril. So he wasn't able to look at the body, but he was able to look at the photos from the mortuary, and because he was like, he was hunted down. Now listen, if he don't know, don't nobody know, right now.
Exactly.
When I was even having to hear about him, Cyril Rex, whatever, saying that we know what happened to that brother. We know what happened to him, but because New Black Media brought that case forward and kept talking about it. See, what it does too is it puts pressure on people to act, right? Because this DA who was like, I don't want to disclose their names because of what it meant. Then the next time he's up for election,
pull up on you too, right?
Yeah, and he's up for election. Then people are going to bring that to the remembrance. Like, no, you the one that didn't even want to say the names of the people who he was hunting with.
Mm-hmm.
The hell?
The Mike Bloomberg campaign imploded because it was reported by the New Black Media how that church turned their back on him. Recently here in LA, the young lady that was thrown on the side of the 110 freeway like trash.
Tiana Diaz.
Yeah, that was done by the New Black Media. And the question that we're asking here in California is, because it was near Maxine Waters' district, where's your statement? What do you have to say about it? And Maxine Waters has been very, very silent.
Yeah, Tiana Diaz was the young lady's name. She was 16 years old, and they said that she, had some issues at home. Her mom had a motorcycle accident, and she was impaired, so she really wouldn't even be cognizant of what happened to her daughter. And she had some problems at home with her father. So they said her cousin actually said that she turned to the street life and started to sell her body. Yeah. And so she was found on the 110 freeway, and people were like, okay, why isn't this national news? Now,
local news, much less national. Local, it wasn't even the local news.
Right. So they don't know who did it, but whoever has her phone, they said they're checking her messages and that kind of stuff. But again, I covered the story on the African Diaspora News Channel. But it wasn't really being talked about. But I want to say this too, because I think this, in all fairness, we should say this too. We as Black people got to get out of that mind frame of if it ain't salacious and gossipy and
Tasha K and Cardi B and
all of that. If it ain't
Rihanna's pregnant, by the way.
So was I. Almost 30 years ago. But we got to get out of the mind frame that if it ain't sexy and salacious, that I don't want nothing to do with it, because we can't complain about the white media not talking about our girls and our women and every Black people. Black men are missing too, right?
Agreed.
We can't complain about that if we don't even watch the content that is being put forth on the Black channels. Like, we can't do that. And I get it. Because a lot of channels won't flourish unless they're talking about gossiping and twerking
and booty shots and back shots and
hanging fruit conversation. So we as Black people need to rearrange our understanding and learn to get more information that is helpful to us. Because I know if I was to come up missing, I want people to talk about it.
Right. Well, Demetra, in the words of some very, very good people that are good intended and highly intelligent, it's something.
Stop it.
It's something.
Well, if I come up missing, I want y'all to do a little bit more than just something, okay? I want y'all to ring the alarms. I want every channel to be blowing up. Demetria K is dead, you know.
She's been abducted. Somebody do something.
She ain't leave on her own, okay?
Right. Yeah, because you are a creature of habit, so that's true.
You better believe it, okay? Jim storing home, home storing Jim, or vice versa, okay?
Right, exactly. But like you said though, the new black media has actually woken a lot of black people up, which is why the Dems are in a lot of trouble. And it's not just here's one thing that the new black media has been saying, and if you look at the numbers, if you're a numbers person, I'm a numbers person as well. And tell me if you agree with this or not, Demetria, and some of our listeners. There are more people in their 70s of the civil rights era that are dying than 18-year-olds that are becoming eligible to vote. So what does that mean? That means their voting base is shrinking.
Yeah, and that's just the circle of life. That's the way it is. And so it's nothing abnormal, I wouldn't think. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we need to, because see, and Farrakhan talks about this a lot. It's going to be the young folks. Yeah. It's going to be the young folks that's going to make a difference. And so we need to reach out to the young people and really get into their minds and give them some information that they can use, because this planet is going to be left for them. And so they're going to need to be the ones that take it by the helm and say, all right, we need to do this, that, and the other, and stop voting for oppression. Stop voting for the same old, right?
Yeah. So, well, think about this too, Demetria. I mean, when we talk about the new black media, why is it that our young girls and our young boys are so desensitized to the dangerous element? And let me call it a dangerous element, being that, okay, you got a lot of young sisters that are entrepreneurs. To me, a prostitution mindset is a prostitution mindset. They have an OnlyFans, or you got these dudes out here selling drugs and doing it. And I'm not judging anybody to survive. We know what's happening out here. You got to survive. But you know what? Would we have to do that if we elected the right people in the office that's actually going to get us what we need? Like the other groups, we wouldn't necessarily have to do that. But my point is this in regards to that. You keep voting for these Democrats. You keep doing all these things, and so you're a young woman, and you're investing in your body, and your body is your business, and whatever, and that's fine. You do what you want to do, but every $600 you put in that account now is now subjected to taxes by an administration that doesn't put that on the rich people. He ain't got the rich people under that guise. It's under the guise of you with these OnlyFans, and I think they also put it on the apps as well. A certain amount of money.
That's why you gotta tell them, when you send me money, baby, say it's from Uncle Sugar.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Uncle Sugar.
Say it's from Uncle Sugar.
but you know what I mean. We and it isn't just the Biden administration. It's every administration we put in, that they do this stuff to us, and we are just so loyal to a group of ideology that isn't loyal to us. When are we going to stop?
I mean, I totally agree, and hopefully with new black media, we'll continue to wake people up. And you and I talk about this a lot as far as the content. There's a lot of stuff that we simply don't cover because it's just like, I'm one of those ones, and I know you too, to some degree. You're trying to get me to watch some bull. But, we don't really like to dabble in too much low-hanging fruit intellectually, because I always say, and you guys know I'm in public relations, and if you want some help with anything, get at me at DemetriaK at .com, DemetriaK.com. For anything public speaking or any of that kind of stuff, I'll be more than happy to help you. But when you start low, for example, I always use Amber Rose in this regards, right? Y'all remember when Amber Rose got on Instagram and she showed her bear kitty cat?
Hoo-ha. Mm-hmm.
Where's she going from there?
Straight to hell.
Well, I'm saying, who's going to listen to her talk about war and peace? Or politics or anything? Like, girl, you had your whole bald head Kit Kat on Instagram, we ain't trying to listen to nothing you got to say. How do you raise the confidence from that point?
Yeah, and you got to think about this. Ever since she left Kanye, she's just been going, and Wiz Khalifa, whoever these guys are, she's just been going downhill. And at 40 something, what? She's in her mid 40s or early 40s. Yeah, I think she's in her early 40s, whatever. And she's going back to the streets.
Why? Did she ever leave?
For a little while, she had some kids. You would think you would come out of that for a little while, but she's like, I'm out there now. You know, as an influencer, it's like she hasn't moved up. Like you're saying, she hasn't moved up.
She's 38.
38.
I guess the point too, what I'm really trying to say is, like, say she wanted to change her platform. Somebody might listen to her. She's like, okay, enough of my cat.